had been about a week and a half since I last saw this dream woman of mine, but I remembered everything about her as if she were here yesterday. I began to make all types of ridiculous assumptions about her absence. Maybe she was just passing through town, or maybe she didn't really enjoy the food. Oh no, what if she was turned off by the creepy table cleaning guy? That thought alone made me feel sick. It felt like an 18-wheeler was slowly running over my midsection. Crazily enough, I rushed to the bathroom and hurried. I was ready to ask my boss to go home early when I noticed a familiar voice in the distance. I scanned the diner to see if it was her. Lo and behold, it was. My dream woman sitting in a booth all by herself. I was glad I hadn't spoken to my boss yet. I perked up and asked a coworker for a breath mint. Not like I was going to approach her or anything, but you never know. Today she wore her hair in a ponytail, and she had a very smooth and sensual pink lipstick on. I could almost make out every word she said to the waitress as I studied her lips. She ordered the salmon again, and it made me wish I was the cook that made it for her. It was strange seeing her alone. I imagined being the one sitting in the booth with her, laughing and making small talk. She sat there gazing out the window, the sun pouring into her hazel eyes and creating an effect more stunning than the aurora borealis. I was cleaning up a table near her again, not a coincidence, I might add, when she noticed me and spoke again. "Hey, I remember you from last time. How are you?" I couldn't believe she remembered me, let alone spoke to me. In truth, the staff in the diner changed all the time. It was difficult to see the same faces you saw 2 days ago, but I was always there. I responded a tad quicker this time as to not seem so weird. "Hey, yeah, I'm always here, and I'm good, thank you." Before she could say anything else, my body took over, and I did an immediate 180 and moved to another table. It was as if my body could tell I was going to make a mistake or say something stupid. Probably for the best, I thought. I glanced back over in her direction and she was looking out the window again. What was on her mind? Was it her daughters? Was it her food? Was it me? Twice she came into the diner, and both times she spoke to me. Was she just a naturally friendly person? Or had I become someone special to her? At that point, it didn't matter. I felt as though we had a connection, like I was a dear friend destined to become more. I continued my odd routine of watching and cleaning as she ate her food. On schedule, her phone rang again, and she prepared to leave. My heart and stomach simultaneously slipped into a black hole. I thought, was that her husband on the phone? It never dawned on me to check the most obvious thing when I saw her, the ring finger. To my utter dismay, I saw it sitting there, mocking me. An enormous rock sat on her finger, and I wondered how she could carry such a thing. Needless to say, I was broken. It felt like she had just cheated and broke the news to me. When I came back to reality, she whizzed past me, and with a soft, angelic voice she said, "Have a good night." The words didn't touch me as much, as I felt like she had just betrayed me. But it still felt good. The next day I pondered the matter heavily. Things just didn't add up. Why? Why would she ever come alone? Why does her phone ring at such an odd time? Something like a curfew? Maybe I was overthinking the situation. The more rational portion of my mind said I should relax and let it be. But I couldn't. Something just wouldn't let me leave it alone. I had to see her again. I had to speak to her. I just had to find out why. I didn't know she would ever come back, but something told me she would, and I just had to be patient. 2 days passed, and I got worried. It was an unreasonable and irrational feeling, but I felt like her husband was keeping her away. The next day, as I got to work and started cleaning and clearing, she came through the door. I was so relieved to see her, but then something was wrong. That black cloud I had previously missed was now looming heavily over her head. A rather large man stepped in closely behind her, a behemoth of sorts. His hands were large enough to hold a basketball like an orange. He wore all black, like he was coming from or heading to a funeral. His fingers were loaded with gold rings. He just had this extremely dark aura to him. I instantly felt a strong dislike for this man. He didn't hold the door for her. He didn't speak to the hostess. He didn't even wait for her to sit. He ordered first and dove right into his phone. I made my normal rounds watching and cleaning. He was on his phone, and she glared out the window still. It was a gloomy day already, but this took the cake. No shine or no glow about her today. Still beautiful, but now more controlled or contained beauty. Her eyes held a lifeless tint. When their food arrived, I realized she hadn't even ordered the salmon. This odd change angered me. A plate slipped from my stack and cracked on the polished floor. Almost immediately, a crack of lightning and thunder followed. There was a brief pause in the diner, and then things went back to normal. She looked in my direction and let a small and almost unnoticeable smile float to me. The monster across from her didn't even flinch. I could tell she was uncomfortable. She had almost a full plate of food in front of her. Then he grabbed her plate and angrily whispered a few words to her, then signaled to the door, and she slowly got up from the booth and left. He paid for the food and without leaving a tip, exited behind her. I felt sick and angry throughout the remainder of my shift. This man changed her entire mood. There had to be more to this story, an element I hadn't yet thought of. But I couldn't simply make assumptions without having facts. I knew I needed to speak with her now. A tiny voice in the back of my mind whispered, "Mind your own business." But it was far too late for that. Whether I was or wasn't, I personally felt invested in this situation.